Welcome to NCIDC Indian Education Program Online Cultural Presentation Series. Our guest speaker or guest presenter is Karuk basket weaver, Alice Lincoln Cook.
Hello, thanks for having me on today. Wasn't sure how you wanted me to start out, if you just wanted me to explain a little bit of where I'm from, who I am, and the things that I've done so far. So again, I'm a Karuk tribal member. I was born and raised in Oregon. Oh, let me wait a minute because my grandson's going to come in and interrupt us a few times, so be prepared for him to come in. Like I said, I was born and raised in Oregon. I also spent a lot of my time on the river, Salmon River. So I have to, that's one of my favorite places to go for the reservation. Around the reservation area is Forks of Salmon. I do a lot of my gathering there, do a lot of my gathering in Happy Camp. I live in Klamath. I co-own a jewelry store, a bookstore, and a coffee shop. And we do a lot of basketry teaching out of there, regalia teaching. We work on programs to help some of the kids that need things every now and then, like the doll that we have here. We're doing a doll project to help gain funds for some of the sick kids in the community. I'm with the California Basket Weavers Association. I sit chair on that. And I originally started teaching, being a teacher at the SIVA gatherings, and I thoroughly enjoyed teaching people. But my goal was, as becoming a member, was to be the voice for weavers and help them gain what we want at a SIVA and how we can tell people the different things that we need.
Great.
So, do you like me to explain some of the things?
Yes, please.
Okay. So my favorite item to weave, and probably because it's less time consuming, because I don't have a lot of time to do. I would love to be able to make something big and fantastic if I could. I'm definitely not a master weaver by any means. I'm always learning new tricks from new weavers all over, and I've been taught by many weavers. Verna Reese has been my main teacher. She's also a cousin of ours, and we've been on some amazing ventures with her. So when I started out making jewelry, and that's how we made our living. My mom taught me how to make jewelry, and we just continued doing it. And as it came to when I came to raise my family, I incorporated the same thing. Basket weaving came in place within the last 10 to 15 years. And I started putting like beargrass braids in my jewelry, and slowly started getting into more of the gathering and processing and doing all that stuff. So that was kind of the start. So these are, this one's a huge rattle, and it's so big because somebody wanted it this big. So it isn't normally that size. And these ones are smaller ones. And this is about the normal size one that I make, is this one here. Like I said, somebody wanted one bigger, so we looked at this and wanted to make this big one for them. So this one's a special order, and I normally don't use a color on the rattles, but again, it was a special order. So when we do our rattles, we do them willow roots, willow sticks, and the reason we use the willow is that it has a natural aspirin to it. So when the baby does chew on it, then they'll get that natural aspirin to help with teething. So this is just as like teething rings to us. So yeah, so that's one of my favorite things that my grandson used, and he tore his apart. We just kept on fixing it. I mean, he loved his baby rattle. And for us to be able, one of my favorite things about it is that it's a start of a baby. It's when their life starts, and we give them this gift. And they're able to use it till they're 6 or 8 months, and then it's usually stored, or by the time one baby uses it, I don't think they use them again. I think that's done. So Lincoln's a prime example. We won't use his again. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things, and he definitely used his for teething. So awesome. Beside me, I have a baby basket. This baby basket was used for all my kids. So my oldest daughter's 29, and she was in the basket, and then so was my middle daughter and my son. And that was made by Madeline and Grace Davis. And then right beside there is a regalia doll that we had. And this was made, we just had it a project out of our shop. And so when we made it, we all had different ideas. So we had about 10 students, and we all had different ideas about it. And so each of us kind of looked into our own tribe and what they made and how we used it out of there. So we have the cap, and then we have the gathering basket, the burden basket on the back. You can see all the small bear grass and the tiny pine nuts, the dentilium, and the abalone pine nuts on the bottom. So I wanted to decorate it way more than what I did. But we were trying to set it up. We showed all of our dolls. I think we had 7 dolls at the Salmon Festival. My favorite part is her little earrings.
Oh, those are so
Aren't those cute? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was struggling with this. I took it apart more than I should have, and so that's. But I love the little earrings. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's so gorgeous. Thank you for bringing that in.
Mm-hmm. So the other pieces I have over here are just kind of what we use for our baby rattles.
Yes.
So we have I brought this because it is the willow root that we gathered just a couple days ago. So it needs to be soaked and broken down, and it'll turn out something like this. It looks a lot thicker, but it really isn't. When it comes down, it's super thin.
Right.
So, and these are our willow sticks. These are bigger roots, and when we get bigger roots like these are usually used for the handle to wrap the baby rattle in. I also brought these small earrings that I have been waiting forever to finish. So I haven't finished those ones yet. And then these 3 mini baby baskets were given to my mom by Madeline and Grace Davis. And so it would go to my brother, Ben, my sister Honeybabe, Norma, and myself. And so I've been able to keep those and treasure those, and I really do. I think they're amazing.
They are.
The other thing we have is a book that I reference people to all the time, and it's a book that Verna Reese has put out, and it's about willows and willow roots. So it has really good information in it, pretty much everything that we were taught when we go out with her. So it's kind of nice to have all this information and all the different weavers that we go out with, and be able to mix all that up.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
So I did bring, I brought a root, which is a ceremony root. We call it kishwolf. And then I brought some abalone pieces, some aloe vera shells, dentalia, and what else is in there? A clamshell. And we usually put those in our baby rattles for a good sound when they do use it for sound other than chewing on it. So it's kind of nice to have that. I don't know that everybody puts a root in there, but I do because I think it's the ceremony is used to ward off bad things, to bring good medicine into our dances, and it's burned for that. I think putting it into a basket should be the same thing when you give it to a baby. You're sending them good medicine.
How interesting. I like to put both in mine too.
Yeah. So
nice.
I think it's important. My mom will smell my baskets to see if I put that in there. So yeah.
Wow.
But I like it. It's one of my favorites.
And what about the little basket over there?
So the little basket is not mine. This is something that a friend of mine brought in, and I was able to get from her. It's very, very fine work. It has the bear grass overlay, and then has the maidenhair overlay, which is the black. And so you can see that just the tiny work on it.
Wow.
It's one of my favorite baskets that I have. I don't know who made it. We do have paperwork and stuff on it, where it came from, when it was purchased from a friend of ours. So yeah, but it's just exquisite the way it's done. It's tiny, it's beautiful. It's hard to find. I mean, you find work, but people look for little tiny work like that.
Right.
And some of my favorite things about a basket, so what I most enjoy about a basket, is watching it and how it was woven. So when you can see that it's one stick here, and then you can see how it splits, and they did their ad before they started doing their design. So even though it looks like, if somebody looks at it and doesn't know what it is, it looks like a mistake. It'll look like made a mistake or something.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's an ad. And you can see it here. You can see it here where the two are. And those are some of my favorite things about baskets. Normally you can tell with the basket who makes it. And you also can tell by the design as to where it came from and try to narrow them down and how they did it. So.
How do you usually tell who the weaver is for the basket?
One of the most important things that we do before we do any teaching is the place we need to be in before we weave. So I was always taught that we need to be at a good place. We shouldn't be mourning. We shouldn't be, if things are not good in our life, it's not what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to weave. As time has passed, weaving has become a therapy for people, for women's and violence, any type of issues. It's been, and it does help. It really does help. I remember making a basket when I was going through a really difficult time, and my uncle's like, "Don't give it to anybody, because you need to keep that for yourself, because you can't give that medicine to somebody else." So, when we do it, we do it for ourselves. And it is a therapy. It really does help to do it. So, but that's the most important thing, is the things we can't do, can't say during weaving, and the place we need to be in. Sometimes we get a little sidetracked.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. So, and the same with gathering.
Yes.
Gathering only a certain amount of materials, not going there and cleaning out the place, and respecting it by covering things up when you're done and putting things back in place as if you weren't there. So.
All right. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Or if you're watching from somewhere, let us know where you're watching from. So while we're waiting for somebody to ask a question, I can start.
Other than my mom and my family, you got to ignore all of them. Other than that, we're more than welcome to take questions.
Okay.
Anyways, go ahead.
What did you first weave?
The first thing I started doing is not so much considered weaving, was bare grass braiding. And as I have indicated, that we made a living off of our jewelry. So we just added that to it and started doing that and then putting it on all our jewelry. Then I started on baby rattles, and I enjoyed the baby rattles. I really like them. I do a lot of medicine baskets, smaller medicine baskets, but I've done a baby basket, but I've never done a huge, like a cap. I've never done a cap yet. I have to, but the time that it takes to do a cap, you really have to be on top of it and not let it sit there for 4 years that you're going to do it. So in our class, it's helped out quite a bit, because we go there and we weave and we teach each other. It's not one master weaver coming into our class. It's a bunch of us working together with different ideas from different tribes, and we're incorporating those.
Okay.
So it's kind of nice.
Great. Have you ever experienced negative feedback from park rangers or anybody while gathering your materials?
I unfortunately have not experienced any contact with them at all. I work with SIVA. We work with the program which is Following the Smoke, which was a program that Laverne Glaze had started out of Orleans, working with Forest Service, burning, and doing that stuff. So the program wasn't in effect. So just this last year, we started the program over again, and we work with her daughters and a lot of people that were with the program. Fortunately, Forest Service, BLM, Caltrans, state parks, regional state, Redwood State Park, they have been phenomenal for us. They have helped us in any way on any of the events we've had. They have been really, really good to us. They are trying to make permits easier for people to access, understanding that there's elders, because that's a lot of our question is like, our elders can't get on there and fill out a permit. So, you know, there's people that are willing to help and do what they can to make sure, you know, if there's a fallen tree or something and we're able to get something off it, then that's the kind of partnership that we're looking for, is tell us where it is so we can let the basket weavers know where that is, and you can go and gather the stuff that's down rather than just burning it or getting rid of it. So those are the kind of relationships we look for with them. However, they, like I said, they have been amazing to me and any of the programs I've worked with them so far.
That's so fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad to hear that in your experience, the park rangers have.
Right.
I
want to, and I talked to you this, I want to get stopped when out picking because I want to listen to what they have to say. But I've never had anything confiscated when I was out picking. I've never had anybody come up to me and ask and do anything like that. So I've been very fortunate because there's been some, you know, horrific stories out there on how they were treated. Mm-hmm. So.
Yes. Do you ever use materials that have been gathered by somebody else, or buy materials gathered by other people?
So we normally don't, but I can remember a couple elders in the tribe buying it because they can't go out and do it anymore.
Baby. Okay.
They can't go out and do it anymore. You know, they can't go out and gather anymore, so they're limited as to what they can and can't do. So I know that some of the elders were out there gathering, but ideally, you know, it was the young people that were out gathering for their elders. That's the way it was supposed to be. So yeah, but you know, everybody does. I don't know that there isn't anybody that hasn't bought materials at some point in time. I think I don't know though. You know, so sometimes it just seems easier to do it, and again, and that's time wise whether you can do it or not. So you know, it just depends on what you can and can't do.
Do you follow the rules, like the gender rules or taboos of basketry? Like some people say men shouldn't do closed weave, stuff like that. Do you follow those rules?
So myself, I have a nephew that's a phenomenal weaver, and I have some friends in Hupa that are phenomenal weavers that are men, and I've learned a lot from them. So and I know, like in our tribe, it's strictly the eel baskets that our guys are making, and my nephew has definitely made those and mastered them. He does it well. So, but he has made other baskets, and he just does a phenomenal job. You know, there's a lot of men basket weavers all over the place now, as opposed to what it was, you know, 40 years ago when it was strictly women and the men were doing it for hunting purposes or whatever the case may be. So it's times are changing, and I mean, I've definitely adapted to it. So it's.
Can women weave eel baskets? Like traditionally, did women ever do that?
I don't think the women did it, but they do it now.
Okay.
So I have seen women make phenomenal baskets again, you know, so it's hard to judge when you see some amazing things that they have made out of them, and I don't think it hurts. I don't know. It, if it does offend somebody, or we go there where they don't want that, then that's, we're at their place, so that's what we respect, is their wishes. So.
So is there anything else you would like to cover in your presentation, or do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, there was a lot of, like I said, Verna Reese was my teacher, and I've learned tons from her, as well as Lena Hurd. My mom and my grandma were my inspirations. My mom was the one who taught me how to do jewelry, and my grandma's the one that pushed me to do more basketry, because we had it in our family. So with all that, it's been it's been an amazing journey. So the SIVA thing, and joining SIVA and being able to trying to give back to our people as to what they want out of SIVA, what they'd like to see, is important to me, and that's you know, I think our weavers are important. I think our culture in weaving is important.
Yes.
And I think it can easily get lost or go in the wrong direction. So it is really important to continue doing that and pushing that. So
great. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for our Facebook Live video. I hope you enjoyed it.